Here, let's start with that new NBC News national poll, which shows 57% of Americans believe the investigations into Donald Trump should continue. 40% say they should stop. When it comes to top issues facing the country, threats to democracy have overtaken the cost of living.
The last month or so, is something changing here in terms of the midterm climate towards the Democrats' benefit, away from the Republicans? Of course, the usual trend has been the out-of-power party. The opposition party does really well in midterm elections. Earlier this year, just about all the numbers were pointing in that direction. The question is, are those numbers changing at all? So let's take...
What is the vision that he is out there selling to Republican voters?
White Christian nationalism. I mean, I think that's what's at the basis of everything that Governor DeSantis does. He's doing it. I mean, he may actually have it as a core belief of his, but the problem is for the country is that there's a segment of voters which now occupies a majority of the Republican Party, and the most dominant part of the primaries and caucuses in the presidential race, which is white Christian nationalists, which is a group of people who are either white evangelicals or very conservative Catholics. And that's what he's doing. He's speaking to those people. He's been speaking to those people. He understands it positions him exceedingly well in the Republican primary, maybe not in the mainstream of America. That's what he's doing. And the problem for our country today is that group of people, and I don't necessarily say maybe that Ron DeSantis is this, but you could, that group of people puts Christian nationalism ahead of democracy.
On the line, apparently those are two issues that are at the forefront of voters' minds coming into the midterm elections in November. That is according to a recent NBC News poll, which is pretty interesting. And again, we're in the middle of the January 6th committee hearings. We're learning more and more about all different kinds of senators and congresspeople's involvement, and all the funny text messages that Fox News hosts have sent the chief of staff during that day. But let's look at some, let's talk about investigating Trump, right? So here was the idea. Okay, if the raid happens on Mar-a-Lago, it's gonna look, I think some were arguing, really, really bad for Democrats. What? Bad for Democrats? So this is the fear, right? This is the sort of centrist fear that often happens, which is like, if we do anything bold, maybe we will face backlash even though there was a literal crime committed. It turns out those centrist pollsters and pundits were wrong, because actually majority of voters, a majority of all voters, approve of Trump investigations. This was the question: do you think investigations into alleged wrongdoing by the former president should continue because he needs to be held accountable, not continue because they're politically motivated and divide the nation? 57% said, yeah, they should continue.
Do you think that he provided information, or based on what you know, do you think it's more likely he pled the fifth?
I think it's more likely that he invoked attorney-client privilege, because if he tells the truth, it won't set him free.